Discover the amazing compassion of a millionaire dad when he uncovered his nanny sleeping on the floor. Tom Bennett swept through the door of his opulent Ohio home, the glistening marble floors shimmering under the soft glow of the chandelier. It was supposed to be a surprise, a rare early evening to reconnect with his family after an exhausting week filled with meetings and late-night coding sprints. But the echoing laughter that once filled the air faded into a haunting silence. As he stepped further inside, a creeping sense of dread enveloped him. Where were the children? Turning toward the playroom, he half expected the shrieks of delight from his 3 kids, but instead, he found Maria, their devoted nanny, curled on the plush carpet. The sight struck him like a brick. She lay there, enveloped in sheer exhaustion, a testament to all the late nights and long days she dedicated to his family while he was busy chasing quarterly numbers. A pang of guilt pricked at him. He was supposed to be their rock, their presence, but he had built walls of ambition instead. Tom's shoulders tightened as he surveyed the room spotted with scattered toys and the remnants of a day spent in blissful innocence. The chaos felt foreign. He inhaled sharply, suppressing the swell of conflicting emotions that surged within him. Beyond the shimmering surface of his suburban life lay a stark truth: he wasn't just neglecting his kids, he was losing himself. The pressure of his empire compressed his heart, and as Maria slept, he reflected on what was sacrificed for this gilded cage: family dinners missed, bedtime stories left unread, laughter fading into the background. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. He looked down at Maria, so lost in her responsibilities yet so profoundly strong. She was a beacon of resilience, sitting outside the bubble he lived in. What dreams did she sacrifice for her role in his wealth? Did she want more than this? Each revelation felt like a wave crashing over him, pulling him deeper into an ocean of uncertainty. Could he somehow break free from the clutches of ambition? His thoughts spiraled towards the looming scandal surrounding his former business partner, a betrayal that promised to unravel everything he had built. The heaviness of urgency tumbled in his chest. What would happen if he lost it all? In that moment, the walls of his empire felt precarious, built on shaky foundations of misplaced priorities. But as he stared down at Maria, the weight shifted. With every heartbeat, he swelled with the desperate desire to connect, to understand the woman behind the caregiving mask. This moment was a catalyst. He needed to act, but fear unfurled inside like a treacherous seed, threatening to bury him in uncertainty. Would confronting the truth bring him closer to the light, change everything he thought he valued? Faced with fissures in his world, Tom found himself at a crossroads. He could no longer ignore the storm. Would he chase after the life he crafted, or could he risk it all for something genuinely meaningful? Floor. The following morning felt surreal as light filtered through the curtains, casting stripes across the room like the lines of a life weighed down with choices. Tom's resolve hung heavy in the air, an unspoken promise of change as he stepped around the remnants of a night filled with introspection. Maria awoke to the faint sound of the kettle boiling, a symphony of domesticity that suddenly felt sacred. More than ever, Tom understood her silent dedication, the love she poured into his children manifesting in every gentle touch and patient word. With coffee in hand, he made his way to the breakfast nook. The not-so-distant sounds of giggles and playful shouts filled the air as his children bounded down the stairs, their energy infectious. Yet, Tom felt a stark chasm between them and the man he had become. It was more than a missed connection, it was a profound realization that he had hidden himself behind a facade, prioritizing wealth over warmth. Being present with his children should never have been a secondary task, a box to check off in his never-ending to-do list. Longing to bridge this gap, Tom decided today would mark the beginning of that effort. He would start small. Family breakfast, he announced, a hint of timidity in his tone. Let us make pancakes together. The initial surprise on their faces morphed into elation, and the kitchen erupted into a flurry of activity. Flour dusted the counter, syrup splattered, and laughter filled the space as his children scuttled around him. In that familial chaos, Tom felt the tightening grip of anxiety loosening its hold. Here, in this moment of flour and future memories, he discovered the joy in simple things and essential warmth that had been overshadowed by board meetings and profit margins. His children needed him to be present, and maybe, just maybe, he needed them more. As they together flipped pancakes, he turned the conversation to Maria. "Isn't she amazing?" he prompted, fishing for insights from his children. Their drowsiness disappeared, replaced with a spirited defense of their nanny's extraordinary ability to make the best of even the hardest days. It was a remarkable testament that stirred something deep within Tom, prompting him to reconsider the dynamics of their household. Abandoning the kitchen for a moment, he sought out Maria, finding her in the cozy corner of the living room, diligently arranging a toy train set. She looked up, her tired eyes sparkling with a faint confusion as if he were a stranger intruding on her sacred routine. "Maria, do you have a minute?" he asked, wrestling with the discomfort of vulnerability. Her guarded gaze softened, yet a light flickered with uncertainty. This unfamiliar role of boss was one he'd neglected. Instead, he had mostly worn a blindfold to the depth of her life stories. As they settled at the kitchen table, he felt a rush of resolve. He needed to communicate his intentions clearly and genuinely, stripping away the complexes of formalities. "I want to understand you better. What pushes you, what dreams you harbor. I've seen only the surface, and I want to explore the depths with you." "What do you mean?" she replied, her suspicion reigning in trust. Tom took a deep breath, realizing he was standing at the precipice of an important step towards transparency and connection. He was aware it would require more than just words, it would demand actions that would reflect his commitment to authenticity moving forward. "I'm tired of living behind the walls I erected. I want to learn what I missed, and maybe help you too." He could sense both fragility and strength in her stance. Would she embrace this chance for mutual understanding, or would his admission push her further away? Ultimately, it would shape not just their lives but the foundation of his family. And with that thought, deep within him, uncertainty thrummed louder than ever before. Now, the challenge lay ahead, not just the fear of rejection but the daunting task of embracing a connection that could redefine him. Could he unravel the complexities of hope and fear to build something genuine, or would the fragility of these new aspirations shatter at the first sign of vulnerability? The moment had arrived for confrontation, not with a business partner or the weight of expectations, but with the specter of his former self, just waiting to be redefined. The tension in the air buzzed like static electricity, each second a potential spark that could ignite something transformative or flame out entirely. Tom fixated on Maria's response, and within that silence, 1,000 questions raced through his mind. Was he ready to open himself up to someone whose life had been so intertwined with his own yet remained shrouded in mystery? Maria paused, her brows knitting together as she processed his words. Tom watched her, wanting to glean every detail of her reaction. Beneath that guarded surface, he sensed an ocean of untold stories, but fear could dam up any flow of honesty. He leaned closer, hoping to bridge the chasm between them with sheer will. "Look, no, I haven't been much of a leader in this household," he continued, his voice steady despite the quake of nerves stifling his throat. "I've always been the guy chasing deadlines, contracts, and profits. But you," he gestured appreciatively, searching for the right words, "you do all this, with such grace. I realized I barely know what makes you, well, you." Maria's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise manifesting in the glimmer of her eyes. It caught him off guard and rekindled a thread of hope. Maybe she wanted this connection as much as he did. "I'm just doing my job, Tom," she replied, her tone cautious but a touch warmer. "It isn't about me, it's about the kids." "Is it?" he pressed, driven by newfound courage. "You are part of their world. You're just as important in their lives as I am. And I want to appreciate you, not just as their caretaker but as a person. What do you dream about?" A shadow crossed her face, and in that instant, Tom recognized that her dreams might be buried beneath years of selflessness and duty. Peeking beneath layers of routine responsibilities might reveal something precious, something he wanted to nurture. Maria hesitated, contemplating his question. "I want to go back to school," she confessed after a long pause, each word tumbling from her lips like gradual drops of rain. I used to love art, painting, but I've never had the chance. I work to support my family, and I just put that part of me away." Tom felt a pang of regret. He had never considered that in this well of love and effort she poured into caring for his children, Maria had sacrificed her own aspirations. "You have to follow that dream," he urged gently. "We can find a way to support you, maybe I could even help you with classes." Maria blinked, the surprise morphing into shock. "You would really do that?" "Absolutely," he replied, conviction filling him. It felt good to say it, to commit to not only learning about her but fulfilling a promise of improvement not just for himself but for her future as well. For the first time in years, Tom felt the weight of his decisions begin to shift. He wasn't just there to guide his children, he could foster growth all around him. Looking deeper, beyond the immediate expectations of his life, offered an avenue for deeper connections. "Let us not just talk about dreams today," he proposed, his excitement blossoming. "Let us make a plan. Maybe we can even involve the kids. In finding their own passions, they can understand the importance of nurturing what inspires them." Maria smiled softly, doubt still flitting at the edges of her eyes. "This is a huge change for you, isn't it?" "Yes," he admitted, the gravity of his truth washing over him. "But my old life isn't enough anymore. I want something real, something that makes us all better. No more hiding." They exchanged a measured look, a silent understanding unraveling the tension that had clamped around them. Yet, even as hope flickered brighter, Tom felt the simmering fear of loss edge closer as well. What if this scenario spiraled out of control? What if they began to share their vulnerabilities only to find an uncomfortable closeness he wasn't prepared for? As he watched Maria begin to soften, the door to connection ajar but still threateningly close to slamming shut, he realized this was merely the beginning of a complicated journey, a labyrinth of emotional exploration that could just as easily lead to destruction as to enlightenment. And so, he braced for the unexpected, knowing that while he could initiate change, the route ahead was destined to be fraught with uncharted territories. As the echoes of laughter trickled down the hall from the breakfast nook, Tom found clarity amid the approaching storm. It was time to face the depths of his own vulnerabilities. Yet, as he embraced this burgeoning path to authenticity, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that remnants of his past were encroaching, ready to challenge his newfound determination. Would he have the fortitude to follow through, or would he once more retreat behind the very barriers he'd pledged to dismantle? Tom woke early the next morning, the soft stream of light filtering through the blinds coaxing him from sleep. The events of the previous day replayed in vivid detail within his mind. He felt an odd mix of anticipation and anxiety dance in his chest, the unfamiliar feeling both invigorating and terrifying. How was he truly going to change his life, the family dynamics, and the relationship with Maria? He swung his legs over the side of the bed and planted his feet on the cool floor, the brisk sensation snapping him to attention. Today was going to be just another day. Today, he would create a path, however uncertain, toward the new life he craved. He realized that beyond the surface of his high-powered career and obligations as a father, there lay immense potential waiting to be unlocked. As the house stirred to life, Tom found himself drawn to the kitchen. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, nearly intoxicating in its comfort. Sitting down, he poured himself a cup and took a moment to collect his thoughts. The prospect of supporting Maria's dreams felt like forging a bond that could transform both of their lives while simultaneously nurturing the children. Yet, was he truly ready to commit to understanding her world, her artistry? He closed his eyes for a heartbeat, envisioning Maria surrounded by canvases, paintbrushes dancing like an orchestra conductor, her spirit uplifted. The image flowed into clarity, igniting a sense of purpose within him that surged forward like a tidal wave. He could feel himself alighting a flicker of her potential. But with that inspiration came the unsettling realization that he'd have to confront his shortcomings first. Standing aside as passive as he had for so long was no longer an option. Tom decided that today would not just be about Maria, it needed to involve the children as well. Perhaps they could all participate in exploring their interests together. He envisioned an outing, a chance for everyone to discover their passions, presenting an easy way to engage, connect, and learn together. As he prepared breakfast, he detailed a plan in his mind. He would speak with each of the kids individually, understanding their interests and hobbies, giving them a platform to flourish. He wanted them to know that their father was invested in them too, not just from a distance but actively participating in nurturing their budding aspirations. The kids stumbled into the kitchen, bleary-eyed but buzzing with energy. Over pancakes and syrup, he broached the subject gently, probing into their recent art projects, science fairs, and stories of dreams they sometimes whispered to themselves at night. As each child spoke, enthusiasm painted joy across their faces. Tom felt a swell of pride. They were more expressive and animated than he had anticipated, unraveling pieces of their personalities he had overlooked for too long. Yet, as he engaged with them, a separate anxiety nested in his mind. What if conjoining their interests with Maria's passion led to complexities he wasn't prepared to navigate? The idea of blending their lives, moving from mere cohabitation to a true family unit, triggered a cascade of old doubts. Was he strong enough to articulate his intentions to Maria? Would she see his coming actions as genuine or mere gestures in a moment of enthusiasm? Feeling a familiar pulse of fear tighten in his chest, Tom found himself questioning if he was overstepping boundaries he had only recently begun to comprehend. There was still so much left unsaid. And then there was the silent promise he had made to himself to break through and step beyond his long-established patterns. As voices around him rose with excitement, he pondered the implication. What would it mean for him personally to build an environment where vulnerability was nurtured, instead of dismissed? Before long, he felt a sudden wave of determination wash over him. He had to speak with Maria, not just about the kids and their plans, but about the route that lay ahead for themselves. He needed to clarify how they could support each other in navigating their respective dreams. With resolve setting in, Tom excused himself, glancing back at the children, their joy imbuing him with warmth. Heading toward Maria, uncertain of her current state, he took one last breath. This discussion was crucial, the existential risk of opening up further was daunting, yet he could feel the weight of possibility pressing against him, a summoning to move forward despite it. Little did he realize, the conversation he was about to initiate would challenge not only the foundations of his own constructs but bring the shadows lurking in Maria's past to the surface as well. Would he have the strength to embrace those complexities, or would fear drive him back behind his barriers? Tom approached the living room, each step heavy with the weight of his intentions. The vibrant murmurs of the children faded into noise as his thoughts spiraled in conflicting directions. Would Maria be open to the shifts he envisioned, or would she see them as intrusions? He recalled her vibrant paintings a window to her soul, but would she allow him to navigate the colors of her life alongside her? Pausing just outside her studio door, he stole a moment to breathe, trying to clear the noise of self-doubt. Inspiration had driven him to undertake this journey, yet he couldn't shake the nagging voice that questioned whether he was enough to shoulder the burdens that came along with it. He wasn't merely seeking to uplift Maria's art, he was yearning to uplift their entire family. Their separate lives had finally begun to converge, and with that came the unmistakable tension of impending change. He found Maria kneeling by her easel, the soft rustle of her brush against the canvas punctuating the silence. Her focus was palpable, a stark contrast to the chaotic energy that had animated breakfast just moments ago. The sight of her ignited something within him, a compelling urge to protect her passion while simultaneously intertwining his life more closely with hers. "Maria?" he ventured, his voice steady despite the quickening pulse in his throat. She looked up, her brow knitting in mild surprise. "Hey, Tom. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I just wanted to chat for a moment." His words felt weighed down by uncertainty, but he pressed forward. I've been thinking about us, about the kids and how we can support each other in all this. The apprehension in the air seemed to thicken as he began to express his thoughts. I want to create an environment where everyone, especially you, feels encouraged to explore their dreams. I know we've been coasting for too long. Maria's expression shifted, her eyes brightening at the mention of her art. I appreciate that. It's been hard trying to balance everything, feeling like I'm in the shadows. Shadows. The word lingered in the air, echoing the fears of unvoiced concerns. I want to help you step into the light, he continued, gauging her reaction, seeking pathways to deeper understanding. We can make this a family effort. I talked with the kids today, they're bursting with ideas. They want to be involved. In her face, Tom read a mixture of hope and apprehension. But how do you see us navigating this? I don't want to overwhelm you or the kids. Adrenaline coursed through him, she was voicing the very fears he had. I believe we need to blend our worlds, open up lines of communication, not just with the kids but with each other. I want to truly understand your artistic journey, and in return, help you incorporate the children into that. It could be difficult. She interrupted, her brow arching. You're right. But what if my past affects this? I don't want you to carry what you're not prepared for, Tom. The defensiveness in her voice struck him. I need to know everything, Maria. Not just the joyful moments but the difficult ones too. Because that's what makes life real. A heartbeat passed, he could almost see her contemplating his words. Would she consider allowing him a glimpse into the shadows of her past? Would she trust him enough to reveal the vulnerabilities she had guarded so closely? I'm scared, Tom, she finally admitted, her voice a whisper. Scared of what being open means for both of us. What if I fail? Her admission stirred something deep within him. No longer did he want her to hide in the safety of her fears. Then we both failed together, but at least we tried, he stated, his voice growing firmer. It's a risk I'm willing to take. The tension between them morphed into something heavier. With each passing second, they both hovered on the precipice of transformation. Still, as he observed the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, a question loomed larger than her fears. Could he truly guide her back to her artistic essence without losing himself along the way? Would the truth behind her fears, possibly intertwined with rejection, push them apart rather than unite them? Tom took a deep breath, preparing for Maria's next words. This wasn't just about reaching out, it was about willingness to confront shadows that could either shatter their budding connection or illuminate pathways they never thought possible. He needed her to look past her apprehensions. Now more than ever, their journey toward embracing passion and vulnerability would begin to reveal itself. But just as he felt a glimmer of progress, he sensed something too. What secrets lay beneath the surface of her art that could define not just their relationship, but the future of their family? Tom's resolve solidified as he sensed the weight of Maria's unspoken fears hovering in the air. Every moment stretched taut, filled with unuttered confessions and the gnawing uncertainty of change. Would this exchange, intended to strengthen their bond, instead expose the fractures hidden beneath their surface? Then let us shape this together, he proposed, impulsively extending his hand toward her paint-splattered one, a gesture not just of partnership but of invitation. Let us create a plan, a roadmap that guides us. I want to help you reclaim your time and your art. The words poured out, fueled by a determination that grew with each syllable. Her eyes searched his. A roadmap? That sounds so calculated. He supplied with a half-smile, trying to ease the tension. Maybe. But sometimes structure gives us the freedom we crave. I mean, think about it, when you know the direction you're headed, there's less anxiety about what awaits. Perhaps it was the blend of his earnestness and vulnerability that shifted her expression slightly. A moment of stillness filled the space as he waited, deliberating how much she could share of her past, how many ghosts could wander into their conversation. I wish it were just about art, Tom. My journey hasn't been linear. It was filled with regret and moments where I felt lost. The confession rang out like a bell, striking Tom's consciousness directly. I can remember feeling so isolated, trapped under layers of self-doubt. That isolation is the real artist's bane. He noted how her apprehension transformed into something deeper, more poignant. It was a mosaic of fears, each fragment representing a past pain. He felt the urge to delve deeper, but instead, he steadied himself. You need a partner who understands that shadow, Maria. And I want to be that partner. Do you? She challenged softly, tilting her head as if searching for sincerity in the depths of his conviction. You say that now, but what if the reality is too harsh? What if it becomes a burden for you? Tom leaned closer, his heart racing at the mere thought. I will never know unless we try. And I'd much rather face those shadows alongside you than live in the light alone. Her breath caught momentarily, a flicker of hope mingling with apprehension. Okay. But it will take time for me to peel back those layers. I haven't painted my truth in years. It was a moment of vulnerability, one he admired, yet it left him grappling with the reality he now felt bound to. I'm here for all of it. Your struggles, your breakthroughs, and your triumphs, whatever they may be. The conviction in his voice surprised even him. The weight of their unsteady connection seemed to slip, hope blossomed in its stead, pushing away the shadows that had long kept them apart. He saw a shift in Maria's demeanor. There was a subtle resolve blooming behind her eyes. Then let us start small. Bring the kids in on this. They mentioned wanting to help, right? Yes, he affirmed, a spark of enthusiasm igniting his spirit. We can host those family brainstorming sessions. Create a space that encourages both creativity and dialogue. Together. No more coasting. Okay, she replied, a hesitant smile breaching the surface of her worries. And we can set aside time for you to paint with me, to explore the process together. The words were both a challenge and an invitation, a potential bridge over troubled waters. Tom felt electrified at the idea. But as his excitement swirled, doubt still tickled the edges of his mind. Would they both have the courage to persist when the shadows of the past hovered? As the conversation deepened, Tom's focus anchored back to a plan. He catalogued every idea and suggestion, weaving a broader narrative not just for Maria's art but for the family unit he so desperately wanted to nurture. The realization settled heavily, this wouldn't merely be about Maria stepping into the light but about both of them forging a path together. As the weight of the conversation began to lift, whispers of courage coalesced around them. And yet, the question that lingered, what truths would emerge when they confronted the full spectrum of their pasts. With that uncertainty swirling, Tom felt an urgency to push ahead. What lay ahead was as thrilling as it was terrifying, both a crucible of possibility and a daunting reminder of the inherent risks involved. Would they emerge stronger, or would the specters of vulnerability tear them apart? But before he could dwell further on that unsettling thought, he sensed that Maria's next words could hold the key to not only their artistic revival but also the revitalization of their relationship, the real essence of their intertwined destinies. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the studio as Tom sat in contemplation. The sketches of what they might create together danced across his mind. He had always approached life with a certain structure, plans and outlines lying ceaselessly behind his thoughts. But now, as he embraced uncertainty, he wondered if was also stifling his own creativity. The plan, a roadmap as he had called it, began forming in his mind. He envisioned inviting the kids into their artistic journey, imagining the delight in their eyes at the prospect of shared creation. It felt like discovering a new dimension to their family, one where discussions of hope, fear, and vulnerability mingled with laughter and paint-splattered hands. Yet, the lingering question gnawed at him, would they all be brave enough to confront their fears and confront the honesty that art demanded? The shadows behind Maria's eyes spoke of battles not yet fought, and if he was to engage fully, he must be prepared to confront the uncomfortable truths that might lie within their family as well. With a sudden burst of resolve, he reached for a fresh sheet of paper and jotted down the key themes for their first family session: creativity, fears, dreams, and communication. Each item carried more weight than the last, asking to be explored, revealed, and ultimately soothed through the brushstroke of a shared experience. How do we handle the burdens of regret? Tom wondered, feeling the pressing need for dialogue. Yet, beneath the surface of his enthusiasm simmered doubt. While he thought of creating an encouraging atmosphere, he was also aware of his inadequacies, the moments where he struggled to express his own feelings or where he withdrew into silence when emotions soared too high. These were the very shadows he wished to illuminate with Maria, now pressing against him with an almost tangible ferocity. Tom pushed the thoughts aside as he recalled their conversation. Maria's vulnerability had emerged as both a window and a mirror, offering glimpses of her past while reflecting his own insecurities back at him. It was daunting yet liberating. The awareness crystallized: this venture was not merely about her artistic revival but a quest for both of them. For all four of them, their children were not just bystanders in this journey. They were part of the very fabric of this transformation. He started to outline how they could structure the brainstorming session. What if they designed prompts that allowed each family member to voice what art means to them personally? Exploring the kind of emotions that overwhelmed them in their artistic experiences could become a poignant entrance into deeper conversations. It struck him how vital it was to ensure that each voice, both young and old, would hold significance in this narrative. But as ideas flowed, a darker undercurrent threatened to emerge. What if he encouraged them to confront the truth behind their inhibition, only to unveil deep-seated issues? Tom hesitated. His instinct to protect and shield his family from pain grappled with the need for authentic connection. Would confronting those fears push them away from one another instead of bringing them closer? He took a deep breath, recognizing that these fears were part of that delicate balancing act between vulnerability and fortitude. The very act of agreeing to explore these emotions revealed a courageous path. They would not simply confront the shadows but illuminate them together, revealing the beauty in their imperfections. As the darkness gave way to the glow of the evening, Tom's heart began to race at the possibility of eliciting growth, both individually and as a family. It would require laying bare their souls not just for artistic expression but also to understand one another on a profound level. The urgency began to swell within him. What if these sessions became a launching pad for something deeper than mere art-making? The potential for revelation was intoxicating, and yet it came at a price. Was he ready to embrace the challenge ahead, even if it meant unraveling threads that had long been tangled? But shadows loomed on the horizon. Maria's past invited complications he could not anticipate, and he would need to navigate that terrain carefully. With the plans taking shape, his mind questioned whether he could walk the path he had set out for them all. What lay behind the vulnerabilities, and how would they all emerge from the process of creation? He could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on him with each passing moment. And so, as he glanced at the sketches on the desk, he pondered the intersection of courage, creativity, and family dynamics, a potent combination that could either weave them closer or threaten to tear them apart. As the instant faded, he sensed their next conversation could be the pivot point. Would they have the courage to begin pulling those threads? A hush enveloped the studio as Tom settled into his chair, the ink on his fresh sheet of paper barely dry. The sketches swirling in his mind were not quite formed yet, reminiscent of the abstract concepts he planned to introduce, a group discussion about creativity, fears, and shared dreams. The enormity of the task loomed before him, yet it was eclipsed by a growing sense of commitment to fostering an open dialogue within his family. Initial excitement mingled with palpable anxiety. Could he, in good faith, ask his family to explore their vulnerabilities when he himself was still grappling with his own? The fear that clawed at him was no longer abstract, it was a clear recognition of his shortcomings, his struggles to articulate feelings, his tendency to deflect emotional depth with humor or silence. What kind of facilitator would he be if he couldn't bridge that gap within himself? He shut his eyes and inhaled deeply, envisioning the look on his children's faces, the hope, the uncertainty, and perhaps even the resistance. He realized he needed to model the very openness he sought. His mind raced as he grappled with what lay ahead. If he hoped to ignite a spark of authenticity within the family, he must first turn that flame toward himself. His artistic inquiries had to be genuine, not mere prompts wrapped in parental authority. An image of Maria's reticent smile flickered across his thoughts. Their shared journey was ripe with potential, yet laden with the burdens of pasts that remained unspoken. He envisioned her, paintbrush poised, ready to reveal emotions hidden beneath layers of vulnerability. But would she view art as a safe space or merely a mirror reflecting painful memories? The clock ticked steadily, punctuating the silence of his introspection. Tom grabbed a bright-colored marker and scrawled the word vulnerability at the top of his brainstorming document. Beneath it, he began jotting down ideas, questions, and expectations. Should they tackle more profound truths right away, or allow the flurry of creativity to break the ice before delving deeper? Each line pulled him closer to that decisive moment, the conversation that could pave the path for exploration or choke it with fear. A sudden anxiety cracked through the facade of his resolve. What if digging into their apprehensions pushed Maria further into silence or caused his children to withdraw completely? A battle waged within him, every instinct urging caution collided with his image of generosity, the belief that honesty could liberate their artistry and relationship. Then, an uncomfortable realization crashed over him. He had always considered himself the protector, yet had he ever spared a thought for what he might be unintentionally protecting them from? Were his hesitations more about his insecurities than about safeguarding their emotions? The familiar weight of expectation sat heavy on his shoulders. With a jolt of clarity, Tom understood that growth would require a communal effort. He envisioned their inaugural session as an opportunity to collectively dismantle the shields they had all built. They would gather, paintbrushes in hand, confronting not just the Pinterest-perfect family image he yearned for, but the raw, immersive experience of creative vulnerability. He suddenly felt eager to explore the concept of their emotional landscapes through mixed media, a visual language capable of capturing even the most complex feelings. Bringing out that dimension could help articulate unspoken thoughts, a psychology blending into paint. Yet he also sensed a wall of apprehension formulating. Steeling himself for what he knew must be done, he contemplated their first prompt: what colors represent your fear? The thought was liberating and intimidating all at once. As he sat upright and prepared to address his family, a hush settled around him, punctuated only by the rhythm of his heart. Every second pulsed with anticipation, propelling him toward the brink of discovery. Would they be ready to embrace this new artistic venture, or would the shadows of doubt return to haunt them? With resolve igniting his determination, he took a step forward. The moment hung savory in the air, pregnant with potential and fear alike. The time had come to face the choices that would define them. Tom took a deep breath, centering his thoughts as he rose from his chair. He felt the tension in the air, a concoction of his own nerves and the unvoiced apprehensions swirling around him. He had envisioned this moment for weeks. It was finally here, and the weight of that reality both excited and terrified him. As he gathered his family in the living room, he noticed how the space felt expansive yet constricting, every corner seeming to echo the unspoken fears and hopes. Maria sat quietly on the sofa, fingers entwined, while the children huddled nearby, each face a canvas of uncertainty. His heart raced, torn between the desire to lead them into exploration and the stark terror of failing to create a safe passage through their emotions. "Okay, everyone," Tom started, his voice steadying as he spoke. "I have an idea for our first art session, something that could help us share and understand each other better." He could see Maria's gaze shifting toward him, a flicker of interest mingled with reluctance. He placed the bright marker on the coffee table, pointing to the word he had written earlier: vulnerability. "What if we painted our fears?" he suggested, trying to sound casual yet earnest. "Let us explore what colors represent those feelings. It could help us visualize what we keep inside. I know it sounds daunting, but maybe it will make things clearer." The silence that followed felt heavy. His children exchanged glances, and Maria's expression revealed a mirror of his own inner turmoil, an amalgamation of curiosity and resistance. He could sense that he had invited them into an emotional labyrinth, one that left open the potential for discovery, but confirmation of their fears loomed large. "What if I can't do it?" One of his children spoke up softly, voice trembling. What if my fears are too messy or silly? Tom felt a rush of empathy. He understood that sentiment all too well. His own jam-packed chest of insecurities echoed suddenly in his mind. That's the point, Tom replied gently, leaning into the vulnerability he had just proposed. This is a space where there are no wrong answers. Just honesty. He watched as Maria slowly picked up her paintbrush, her brow furrowing in concentration. He could almost see her grappling with the choice to paint or retreat. The tension twined around them like a shroud, but determination urged Tom to stay present, to confront the discomfort they all felt. He shifted his weight, reminding himself that it was about more than art, it was about unraveling the tightly wound threads binding their voices. Tom moved closer to the table and began to select colors. As he dipped the brush into dark blue, he felt the weight of heavy emotions tumble forward. This represents my fear of inadequacy, he murmured, painting a broad stroke across the canvas. He hadn't planned on sharing his own representation, but suddenly, vulnerability flooded back to him, mutating his apprehension into a defining moment of connection. He glanced at his family, their faces illuminated by the vibrant array of colors surrounding them. Maria's brush began to glide, hesitantly at first, but soon gaining momentum. Bravo, he felt silently, letting her creative spirit intermingle with the vulnerable truths of their hearts. He focused again on himself. What did it mean to dismantle the expectations they had of who they should be as a family, as individuals? They were all creating art that captured not only their fears but also the desires hiding beneath the surface. Remember, it's okay to be raw, he encouraged. Art is imperfect, just like us. Deep down, amidst the swirling paint and wavering resolve, Tom wondered if this prompt would serve as a springboard into understanding their ever-shifting dynamics. Would they emerge with a clearer understanding, or would collective fears strangle hopeful connections? As he painted, the questions spiraled within him. And just as the chaos seemed to align, the doorbell rang, a sudden interruption that felt ominous, like a dark cloud demanding attention. Caught between the familiar territory of vulnerability and the unknown visitor, uncertainty crept back into Tom's gut. What awaited them outside that door? Would it shatter the delicate atmosphere they had begun to forge, or would it herald new revelations? Tom took a moment to collect himself amidst the growing tension as he headed for the door, each step resonating with a mixture of hope and anxiety. The world outside had always felt out of reach, a place where the chaos of his career dominated every aspect of his life. Yet today, he was determined to embrace the unknown, to navigate through the unexpected while holding on to the progress they were making. As he opened the door, the sight of his former business partner, Charles, drenched in an aura of desperation, filled him with unease. "Tom, I need your help," Charles stammered, eyes darting nervously. Tom could feel his heart race. Immediately, the shadows of his past began to creep back, threatening to pull him away from the light he'd started to step into. He hesitated, the memories of betrayal and loss colliding in his mind, and yet, something felt different this time. Instead of the defensive inflammation that typically followed such intrusions, resolve surged within him. "I'm sorry, but I don't think I can help you," he replied firmly. Charles opened his mouth to protest, but Tom continued, "I've changed. I've been working on my family and myself. I want to create something meaningful, and I can't do that while carrying the weight of old mistakes." His former partner flinched, caught off guard by Tom's conviction, and Tom felt a roar of satisfaction wash over him. This was growth, understanding his boundaries and prioritizing the commitment he made to his family. Surprised silence enveloped them both for a moment, and then Charles stepped away, a look of confusion etched across his face. Tom watched him walk off, the burden of their past now something he could leave behind without compounding the weight of it. Closing the door, he felt an exhilarating lightness settle over him, as if a long-held breath had finally been released. He re-entered the living room with a renewed sense of purpose. "Sorry about that, everyone," he started, grinning at his family, who had been anxiously watching the door. "Let's get back to our art." With renewed inspiration, Tom picked up the brush. The dark blue he'd painted earlier now felt like a different weight altogether. He layered bright, vivid colors on top of it, weaving his newfound resolution into the canvas. The urgency of their art session echoed with the newfound freedoms he had claimed, both in his personal life and heart. "Watch this," he said to his kids, eager to involve them as well. "Art can transform not just thoughts but emotions. It can encapsulate our journey forward." Quickly, the atmosphere shifted, laughter bubbling up as the children eagerly joined in, their excitement palpable. It was as if the very act of painting had become an equalizer, breaking down barriers and allowing them to explore uncharted territories of connection together, not just with vulnerability, but with joy. As Maria painted, her strokes grew bolder, brighter. Watching her, Tom felt pride swell in his chest. She was stepping into her own light without hesitation, replacing the shadows of doubt with vibrant colors. The room transformed into a space filled with the tangible essence of their growth, a canvas alive with the colors of their collective striving. In that moment, Tom saw the potential of family connections damaged yet resolute. Each brushstroke communicated perseverance, an unscripted testament to how vulnerability could coexist with strength. They were building a life enriched by understanding, not just between him and Maria, but with every single member present. As their masterpieces took shape, time slipped away unnoticed. The laughter, the shared glances, the vibrant colors swirling together, each moment was a thread weaving their hopes, fears, and dreams into a sturdy tapestry of family. Later, as they stepped back to admire their work, warm satisfaction blossomed in Tom's heart. The shimmering collection of canvases wallowed in the chaotic beauty of their vulnerabilities had created something undeniably unique, an expression of their journey toward authenticity. "I think we made a masterpiece," he declared, echoing a sense of triumph. Each family member beamed, reflecting the newfound connection solidifying between them. Tom now understood that confronting personal shadows brought needed depth to relationships. It had propelled Maria to reclaim her artistry, allowing their children to witness transformation and renewal. They were no longer a family living behind walls, but rather, collectively navigating the messy but beautiful experience of living authentically together. Tom glanced at Maria, her smile radiating newfound joy, and he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. In this whirlwind of emotions and discoveries, he had found his own clarity in the decision to embrace vulnerability and connection. Truly and unequivocally, this was a beginning his journey of growth, both solitary and shared, no longer a pursuit of ambition but a commitment to enduring love and understanding. As they draped their colorful masterpieces on the wall, a tangible declaration that echoed their shared journey, Tom vowed to honor not just his own transformation, but the legacy of trust and creativity they could expand upon as a family. A heartfelt assurance settled in. Together, they had started something revolutionary. Now, it's time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment your reactions and theories about this impactful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.